Project Camelot video. For those that don't know about Carrie Cassidy and her Project Camelot. And this was February 7th. February 7th, 2019. Just the other day.
Okay.
Oh, and she's interviewing a NASA employee, blowing the whistle on the targeting. This is for all targeted individuals. Some more deep knowledge for us who are being targeted by our own government.
We can see if the audience thinks this is any better. Keep the video off and we'll continue. All right, so very sorry. Can you just back up a couple steps? You were talking about some individuals that you think are heading up the targeting program.
That's correct. The CIA handles the funds from the black budget, and those funds go to what's called the National Intelligence Program, and the Office of the Director of National Intelligence doles out those funds, but really does it at the discretion of the CIA. So the CIA is highly involved in that process. The three main recipients are the Air Force Space Command, the 50th Wing, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, and the Department of Justice under John Dewars. And I do have a chart on that. The gang stalking is run out of the fusion centers. How do we know that? We know that because 3 police whistleblowers last year came forward and told us that the fusion centers are the control stations for all the gang stalking. There's a minimum of 1 fusion center in every state, and that's how the gang stalking is organized in each state. In Texas, we've actually got, I believe, 3 or 4 fusion centers, and the main one is in Austin, the capital, but we also have one near Dallas and one in Houston. So the local offices will handle that gang stalking operation, and grant money is provided from the National Intelligence Program to set up and hire all these people that then go about harassing these targeted individuals 24 hours a day. And it's all done under the guise, here's the code word, counterterrorism. Counterterrorism really means gang stalking. 90% of what they do is gang stalking. The other 10% of the time they spend pretending that they're fighting terrorists. So they talk about counterterrorism, they talk about, difficult terrorists in foreign countries. But the main reason that we know that this is all a shill is in 2012, the State Department, in fact, every year the State Department puts out a list. They have each one of their country managers. So the State Department has set up regions like the Middle East or Asia. And then under that, each country has country managers and analysts that analyze everything going on in that specific country. And
okay, I'm very sorry. They're really hitting us hard. What I want to do here is call you on a phone line. So Richard, let's back up slightly and go back to the individuals that you believe are running the program, and how perhaps you can tell us how you you zeroed in on those particular people.
Okay, yeah, that's a good place to back up. So I do have a slide that's called Figure P1, P as in Paul. It's on my website. It's in a number of my books, my recent books, that are free at ourlighthouse.com. All of my ebooks for targeted individuals are free. So this is what I've been able to track down. The CIA Operations Group is headed by Elizabeth Kimber. She handles the day-to-day operations at the CIA that includes the targeted individual program. There's in this overview slide, and again, there are many more people involved than just these people I've identified on this chart. The entire groups and organizations that I've identified, for example, at the Justice Department, they have a group called the National Security Division. So basically everyone in that division, and they've got a number of sub-managers that manage specific tasks, but their ultra high secrecy and their onus on a day-to-day basis has nothing to do with national security. That's a shill. Their goal is control of the population, and they are one segment out of that agenda. So we have at the top Elizabeth Kimber. The directed energy weapons are run out of Schriever Air Force Base. The commander there is General John Raymond. The 50th Wing is where all of the activity, all of the illegal activity is focused. So that's, and I'll get into the details of how that plays into the bigger picture. I'll get into some of the details of how the tracking works. But I wanted to lay out an overview of the TI program because it's a subset, and explain why the Air Force had to have this tracking system. And then they decided they would roll it out and just use it on everyone. So they started tracking everyone, even if you're not a targeted individual. By obtaining the precise GPS coordinates from 1 second to the next, it gives them the ability to hit your head with subliminal messages. And that's the end goal of the tracking. Just knowing where you are from 1 second to the next, particularly in our country where people have cell phones, where cell phone usage is very high, that's not particularly helpful information. But knowing the precise GPS coordinates of your head and being able to aim subliminal messages that are sent through focused microwave beams at your head 24 hours a day, that's valuable. And that's the purpose of the system. The system is used for tracking you so they can take advantage of you. That's really what it's all about. And I summarize that on another diagram that's called How the U.S. Air Force Tracks Everyone. And I do mean everyone, including children. Most people will discover, if they sit in a very quiet moment, they'll discover that they have ringing in their one or both ears. It's a very high-pitched, noticeable ringing that's fairly constant. That ringing is there because you're getting hit with microwaves. And as soon as the microwaves get turned off, that ringing will go away. So what it's doing is it's vibrating your brain. There's a number of scientists that worked for the military for many years. If you go to a website called biggerthansnowden.com, you'll find Dr. Douglas Rock, R-O-K-K-E. He was involved with some of the design, system design, that discovered that the phi effect, which actually goes all the way back to about 1960, could send messages to your brain. But the reason that works so well is because your brain actually has a natural resonant frequency in the same way that a wine glass or a tuning fork has a natural resonant frequency. Your brain also has a natural resonant frequency, and it's between about 400 megahertz, about 420 megahertz to about 480 megahertz for most people.